Hi, and welcome everyone. My name is Lori Rodriguez, and I am the Chief Digital Officer for Women in Technology. I'm also author of the upcoming book, We Want You to Stay, The Hidden Lives of 20 Women in STEM. I am so honored to be speaking with Christine Chama from Zambia today. She is a disability advocate, social worker, and development specialist. She's also a recent graduate from the University of Zambia with a Bachelor in Mass Communications with Economics. Christine, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Well, and congratulations on your graduation. I know that's a huge milestone, and I just love the pictures you shared on social media. How did that feel to reach that huge milestone in your life?
Well, I must say it hasn't been an easy road. It was quite a difficult journey for me, but I'm really now excited that I finally graduated. And I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Development Studies with sociology. Yeah, so.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry I messed that up.
Yeah.
Well, terrific. So you mentioned it hasn't been an easy road. Can you tell us, a little bit more about that?
Yes, it hasn't been an easy road because I think especially because of my condition, me having a physical disability. And in our country, Zambia, most of the infrastructure is not inclusive enough for persons with my condition. And I think I'll give an example of the University of Zambia where I was. I was under the School of Humanities and Social Sciences. And everybody who has been to UNZA under that school would definitely agree with me that the school is one of those phase schools which has old buildings. So the buildings are mostly have staircases. So even in the lecture theater, there are staircases. So it was quite a challenge for me to be going up staircases each and every day because there's no elevator in that school. Sure.
So for folks who don't know, who are joining and didn't see your story on social media, can you describe your condition wherever you're comfortable with, just so people get an understanding of what that means to not have an elevator for someone who may have a similar condition to your own?
Okay, so I have a condition known as Osteogenesis Imperfecta. I think in the layman's language, we call it soft bones. So I've got brittle bones. Yeah, so my bones break they break so often. So for them to be a bit strong, they are being supported with some rods, because I've got operations. I've put rods inside just so as to support my bones a bit because they're really brittle. Yeah.
Oh,
I like
wow.
saying they're brittle more like the bones of a chicken. Yeah.
And so I would imagine then that it's not only difficult, right, for anyone who might be in a wheelchair or need help walking, but for you, that's dangerous and potentially deadly if you were to fall. Am I understanding that correctly?
Definitely. It is very dangerous and very deadly to say because I use crutches, but I believe I use crutches is really, really dangerous for me to be using staircases each and every day. Yeah, so it's really, it was very dangerous and very risky. Yeah.
So how did you get up the stairs? Did somebody help you, or how did you manage that every day?
Well, I had to do it on my own.
Wow.
Funny enough. Yeah. I had to do it all on my own until I got done with my school. But I must say it wasn't easy. It wasn't something that was easy. I never got used to that lifestyle. So yeah.
And
But
it
I
must have
just had
taken
to
you
go through.
and you probably had to plan because the time to get up the stairs would have been also
Yeah, sure. Because usually if I'm having a class, I have to start off from my room, from my hostel, at least an hour before my class.
An hour before your class.
Yeah,
Do
so
you think
that I
things?
don't have to rush when getting on the staircases. Really have to take my time. I have to be slow. Yeah, just for me to be safe.
It's just something we take for granted, just simply going up the stairs and or rushing to class even. And for you, you had to plan an hour ahead of time to get to your course on time, and the risk that you took physically to get there every day, it is a big accomplishment for you. I'm so proud of you and so inspired by just even this little bit of the story.
Thank you so much.
So, tell us about your childhood, how you got to where you are today, why that was so important for you to go through this, to graduate, to go to school even. Can you tell us about what it was in your childhood that drove you to decide I'm just going to go do this no matter what it takes and no matter what the risk is?
Okay, so my childhood is not all that interesting, I must say, because I was born with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my early days of being born, I couldn't walk, I couldn't talk, I couldn't sit. So from my childhood, I had to spend most of the time in hospitals. So I practically grew up in hospital. Yeah, because I could spend months, even close to a year in hospital. Yeah, so it was rare that I was at home, playing around with other kids, just having a normal life as a kid. So I'll find most of my time in hospitals. Yeah, so basically that was my childhood. Yeah.
Wow. And so did you have access to, how did you go to school? What was your school like? Did you spend that in the hospital, and were there teachers coming in? Did you have digital technology to help you through that?
Well, I think from what I was taught by my mom, because she was always on my bedside, um, there were some teachers that used to come just on voluntary basis, because most of the time I was at the university teaching hospital, which is in Lusaka. So there were some teachers that would pass through just on a voluntary basis, just to teach kids that were interested in school. And I'm so lucky to say my mom was a teacher. She's now retired. So of course she knew the importance of me getting educated. So she would always interact with those teachers and just to help me. And while I was in hospital, she had to connect with some sisters, some missionary sisters, who runs the Cheshire homes here in Zambia, which is basically for the physically children. So there is a school in Lusaka, Zambia, Kablonga area, Cheshire homes. So one day when they brought in some kids from that school to the hospital where I was, my mom had to talk to them to ask if it's possible that I can also go to that school. Because where I'm from, my hometown, which is in Kabwe, central province of Zambia, we don't have, I think when I was growing up, we never had a special school. Yeah, so meaning it could have been really difficult for me to be in a normal school, which is not a special school. Yeah, so my mom had to talk to the sisters. And luckily enough, they did accept me to go to Cheshire Homes in Lusaka. So I had to leave my family, I had to leave my parents back home in Kabwe, and I had to go into a boarding school. So I went into a boarding school when I was quite young. I think I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. That's when I went into a boarding school. Sure. So that's how my education journey basically started from. So the advantage I had with Cheshire Homes, because now they even had to take up my medical bills, because I had to go for very expensive operations, which of course my parents couldn't manage. Yeah, because they were quite expensive, and it was something that was to go on for a very long time. Yeah, so that's how I started my education journey. And from Cheshire Homes, I was transferred to Jagama School for the physically challenged, which is also in another town in Russia, which is on the copper belt of Zambia. Yeah, and then I was there from grade 4 up to grade 12. So it was also a special school. Yeah, so basically, I did my education out of my hometown because because of my condition, it required me to be in a special school.
Wow. And that must have just was so bittersweet for your mother, I'm guessing, because she cared for you every day by your side. And then to know for you to grow that she needed to let you go to this special school where she wouldn't see you every day. It was a boarding school. How as a mom, how difficult that must have been. You must be
Yeah,
so.
I would say I feel it was really difficult for my parents. I both mom and dad. I've been their baby girl like all the time. So I think even for them just to make that decision, or they couldn't tell me that I knew it was quite a very difficult decision that they had to make. But overall, I think they also wanted something based for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think, did you have technology, access to computers or internet in your education when you were growing up before you got to college?
When I was growing up, not really. Uh, Technology wasn't that very common. Yeah, I must say. I think I came to be more equipped, or maybe how to use a computer after my grade 12. That
Mhm.
was after my secondary school. Because when I did complete my secondary school, I had to do a short course computers, just the basics. So I
Mm.
think that's when I came to know more about the computer. So for my past education levels, primary, secondary, technology level wasn't that common, the schools where I was.
Mm.
Yeah.
Do you think it would be helpful for people in a similar condition to have access to technology at earlier ages?
Definitely it'd be something very beneficial to them,
Mm.
because I feel if I was equipped with education, with technology, in my early days of education, I think some of the things that I had to go through, maybe I wasn't even going to go through them. Some of the risks that I had to take, maybe I wouldn't even be able to take them. I think with technology, maybe I could even just be having classes from home, from the
Mm.
comfort of my home. Yeah, but then the fact that there was no that provision, that's why I had to go through whatever I had to go through. So I feel technology really would play a very important role just in the early stages of life for somebody living with a disability.
Right. And then, I mean, the opposite of that is it might also keep you in your home. So you said early stages of life. At some point you need to get out and live in the world that isn't made for you. So it's am I getting the sense that it is this balance? You technology would help with some of the risks and bring you into the world, but eventually you need to go out into the world as well. Am I understanding that correctly?
Definitely, definitely. I always say things have got advantages and disadvantages.
Mm.
Yeah. So as much as technology will ease the burden of certain things, but I get too much of it will be not being out there in the actual world. getting to understand what the actual word is all about. But again, I also think what I went through has really helped me to be the person that I am now. What I have faced out there and a different world out there, it has really been part of what I am now. So, like I said earlier, everything has got advantages and disadvantages. So we just have to balance up.
Yeah. You know, I think that kind of leads me to the question around leadership. As I was going through some of the work out there, leadership seems to be an important topic to you. Can you tell me, more about that?
Well, I would say I sort of embarked on the leadership journey while I was at the university. I think that's when I developed more interest in it. And one of the things that really motivated me to take on that step of leadership, I so noticed that there was so much of a gap in terms of representations as students with disabilities and as students without disabilities at the University of Zambia. And also there's just this perception that people have about persons with disabilities. People think we can't do things on our own. People think we can't lead, we can't be leaders, or we can't make decisions, or we can't help in the development of a nation as a whole. So I noticed there was that gap, well, especially during my university journey. And so I was like, well, let me give it a try. Why don't I follow this leadership journey and see where it takes? So that's where it all began from. So.
Yeah. So tell me more about the leadership roles you did take on. What were they and what were you able to accomplish?
Okay, so I think in my first year at the university, I joined my association program, which is the University of Zambia Development Studies Association. So our first year, I was just an ordinary member. I just wanted to see how the association runs. And also, yeah, I just to have that broad knowledge of what the association is all about. And I think in my second year, I was part of the executive of the association, just as an executive member, committee member. So that was like the lowest position. Yeah, so I was like, wow. And then in my third year, I was the projects coordinator for the association. And then finally, my fourth year, I think, which was the biggest achievement for me, my leadership journey, I became the president of the association. And if it might interest you to know, I was the first female president of the association and the first person living with a disability to be president of the association.
Wow, congratulations. That's
Thank you.
fantastic. And this is an association that was for your domain area. It was not for people with disabilities. I just want,
No,
right? I want to make
it was my association for all, that was the association for all the students at the University of Zambia that are doing development studies. So it wasn't just an association for persons with disabilities or for students with disabilities, no.
That's fantastic. How
Yeah.
proud your parents must have been to see this journey that you went through from this little girl with brittle bones that your mom sat by your bedside to this woman who not only graduated university, but as president of your development studies area.
Yeah, and then also, actually, my fourth year, I had two positions, leadership positions. I was also one of the students with disabilities representatives on the student council. So I think my fourth year was really amazing in terms of leadership journey. So
Wow, fantastic. That what a What a just inspiring story, especially understanding how difficult that was for you, and the bravery and courageousness just to go to school every day from that hour journey and going up those stairs. That's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that. You know, the theme of our global event here for Women in Technology is digital equity for all. What does digital equity mean to you?
Well, I think digital equity means that now that we are in a digital world, I would say, it means every person should have access or should have knowledge about the digital world, should be digitally knowledgeable, I would say. So even for persons with disability, as much as we are bringing in all these digital materials, it should be noted that it's inclusive enough. Even persons living with disabilities, they should be able to use the digital as much as other people are able to use it.
So give me an example of where it isn't equitable. You know, so anyone listening, these are women in technology who have the power to change that. Give us some examples of where we could build solutions that would make it more inclusive for people with disabilities.
Okay, I feel there should be inclusive enough. For instance, I've said that certain computers that do not allow certain softwares that are used by, for instance, the visually impaired. Yeah, and then there are certain computers that don't allow the software that is usually used by persons that have got a deaf impairment.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel those are some of the areas where we should concentrate on. Let's if it is a computer, let it be, let it have those provisions. I think it should be something that should be inbuilt
Mm.
as much as, yeah, rather, because I think of now in our country, if a person living with visual impairment or hearing impairment, for them to have that software, they have to buy it separately. It's not something that is inbuilt. And the cost at which it's being sold is quite expensive. So you find that most of our colleagues are not able to get that software and use it the way so as it helps them. So I feel actually it's my appeal if there's something that can be done so as maybe to lessen on the cost of the software to make it a bit cheaper so that people can easily access it, more especially here in Zambia. Or if there's a possibility that computers or phones should at least should come with an inbuilt software already with
Mm.
such components. And I feel that would be very helpful. Sure.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Um, so what's next for you? What aspirations, both in short term, or what are you doing now that you've graduated? And then what do you see in your near and long-term future?
Well, currently I'm working somewhere. Uh, I'm a social welfare officer here in Kabwe, district my hometown. Yeah, I'm at the district office as an officer. Because I think it might also interest you to know that I don't only hold a Bachelor of Arts degree in development studies with social, but I also have a diploma in social work. So yeah, so I did get a diploma in social work before I got my bachelor's degree. So I'm currently a social worker. Yeah, yeah, that's why. And future aspiration, of course, continuing with my disability advocacy, because definitely that's where my passion lies. And just see how best I can help others get to where I am, more especially persons living with disabilities. Because for me to be where I am, a lot of people came on board to help me. So definitely I would also want to share their experience that I've acquired so far, though I can say I'm still learning, because learning is definitely a process. So yeah, I'm looking forward to doing more of the advocacy work towards my passion, and yeah, just be a role model to so many people out there. Yeah.
I feel you're well on that journey to being a role model to so many people out there. As you think about your own story and being that role model, what do you want people to take away from your story and your journey so far?
I think what I would want people to take away is that there's this perception that people have pertaining to persons living with disabilities. But I think I've tried to live so as to help change that perception that people have towards persons with disabilities. I like saying disability is not inability. As much as I have a disability, but I've got more abilities. And it's really important that people get to see our abilities and not our disabilities. Because as persons with disabilities, living with disabilities, we have more to offer to the world, to our communities we are living in, to our societies, and to the world at large. So I think the most important thing that people need to understand is that we are able to do most things as much as we are living with disabilities. And people should have a different perception about persons living with disabilities. And also, my message to people out there is that when you see a person living with a disability, I think it's hard time we came out from that thing of being sorry for them, feeling sorry for them. Because I feel that also hinders the ability that somebody has. Give them opportunities to showcase their abilities. I think that's the most important thing. If you are able to see, if you are able to benefit from what we're able to do as persons living with disabilities, it's very important that you give us opportunities, give us space to showcase our abilities. And I can assure you, you'll definitely be amazed at what you will see and what you will get.
That is so beautiful that we see ability, not disability. Language is so important. We you even the studies you talk about is about people with disabilities. And I don't know what the right language is, but it is certainly, we can maybe change our perception to see people with different abilities, we might say.
Sure.
Is there anything else you'd like to say in our closing?
Well, firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for this platform that you have connected me. I don't take it for granted. I know just with this platform, my message, my story will be shared worldwide. So thank you very much for this opportunity that you have accorded me, for your time just to listen to my story. And yeah, I so much appreciate you. And I'm really looking forward if there would be any other ways and means on which we can work together. I'm so much looking forward.
I think this hopefully is just the beginning of a future together with you, and broadening that platform for you and giving you more opportunities for that leadership and inspiration that you clearly have just in your DNA. So thank you for sharing your story and your insights on leadership and ability, and what each of us can do to change and be what we want to see in the world. And also for the importance of really digital equity for all, which is the theme of our global event, and how important technology can play in helping us all see ability rather than disability. So thank you, Christine.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.